It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do. You do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast coming off the Super Bowl. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, John Riley, and we welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines. Amazing set of topics on the table today. We're going a lot of different directions. The podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. If you've got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend and consultant. Go to DIXIELINE.com to find out all the things they offer to you. John Riley, that was some Super Bowl. I can't believe the way it ended. You can't believe the topics on the table because we're going to go a lot of different directions. How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, it was a big day. How was the Super Bowl party in your cul-de-sac?
It was out of control. Thank you. There were a lot of people in Kansas City jerseys who'd be buying us Philly cheesesteaks probably later tonight. But I was absolutely amazed. And we're going to go a lot of different directions because there are a lot of things that we're going to talk about here on our Monday bonus podcast. Just a couple of business items. When we're done with this podcast, John, we invite everybody to jump on board. It's called Fans Forum.
Fans Forum. So this is your chance to get involved. You have a question or comment for Hacksaw in the world of sports, drop your take in the live chat, X, YouTube, or Facebook. We'll get you involved, and guys are piling in already.
And a reminder, if you like sports, I write a ton of sports every day on my website. It's leehacksawhamilton.com. It's there first thing every morning. If you read it every morning, you will be amazed at the depth of the content. Also, when you go to the homepage on my website, there's an orange box right there. Fill it out. Join Hacksaw's Insiders group. You'll get special emails with unique things that we're doing. I want you on my Twitter All-Star team. Go to X. If you're on social media, go to X. Type in my handle at Hacksaw1090 and hit the follow button. That way you'll get alerted every time I put something up on X. We want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 Pacific now. New starting time, Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. And we want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you'll get the alerts every time we put something up on that YouTube channel. A lot of different videos, a lot of different commentaries that we make available to you. So make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel. John, I'm ready. Where we going?
We got to go with the Super Bowl, man. I mean, that was just a freaking blowout, Lee.
The question was, would Kansas City three-peat? The answer was, hell no, period, exclamation point. What an unbelievable Eagle-dominating performance. Philadelphia figured them out. Philadelphia choked them off. Philadelphia attacked them downfield. It's just amazing things that happened during the course of that game. I kept saying this would be the hardest Sunday of Patrick Mahomes' life, and it turned out to be that way. He had no hope, and he had no help during the course of that game. The defensive line overwhelmed Kansas City's weakest points, their left tackle and right tackle, and they did it strictly with a 4-man rush. There was nothing Kansas City could do to stop everything those guys wearing green jerseys did up front. The mean green defense was phenomenal. 6 sacks of Mahomes, 9 hits on Mahomes, 15 pressures of Mahomes, 2 picks, and a fumble. The Philadelphia doubled Travis Kelce all day. Mahomes, A, couldn't find him open. B, had no time to find hardly anybody. At one stretch in the second quarter of the game, John, Philadelphia had run off 50 snaps to 30 of Kansas City. At one point in the second quarter, total offense was 177 to 20.
Whoa.
At one point in the second quarter, Kansas City had 1 first down. At one point in the second quarter, they were trailing 34-0. Imagine that. Any team with Andy Reid as head coach, any team as Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback being down 34-0. And Reid had absolutely no answers whatsoever for everything that Philadelphia was doing on offense. And the camera shots of Steve Spagnuolo, he had a glazed look on his eyes.
He did.
He could not believe what he was seeing, what his defense, which had been so good, so dominant, was experiencing all over. Now, I'll say this. They committed to stop Saquon Barkley. They loaded the box. They stopped Saquon Barkley. They held him to 61 yards. He never broke a big play. But they did that trusting that McDuffie in the secondary was going to be able to make some plays, and other guys in the secondary would be able to hold up the single coverage, and it didn't happen. Because what happened then, with all the commitments to stopping Saquon Barkley, Kansas City secondary got beat multiple times on deep pass patterns. Jalen Hurts threw for 220 and ran for 72 more. I mean, he had a phenomenally balanced game. And there was the chief crisis. This is what they will spend the offseason on. They've got to find legitimacy at left tackle and at right tackle because those guys just got killed. And this has been coming all season long. You know, injuries hurt Kansas City during the year, but yet Mahomes got them off the hook by making big plays. But because they got to the Super Bowl and they could not contain the four-man rush, Mahomes had nowhere to go, nobody to throw to. So the Chiefs are going to have to spend, and I bet they'll be active. They'll either do it through the draft or they'll find rental free agents. Chiefs crisis, they got to solve the left tackle, right tackle situation. I think the one unique thing that really amazed me was there are flaws in what Andy Reid's doing, and Philadelphia exposed him. With the pressure and the heat that they put on the quarterback, we suddenly realized Andy Reid doesn't have enough blockers. He could not bring tight ends in, H-backs in to block to help the tackles because those guys are pass catchers. Those guys are not big physical studs. They're going to stand in there and help that left tackle, right tackle double team. So all of a sudden, there's some flaws in Andy Reid's roster nobody was able to expose, but Philadelphia did. And chunk plays. I mean, there was just chunk plays all over the place, virtually all of them done by Philadelphia. They had 11 plays of plus 10 yards in the first three quarters when they were blowing them out. They had 4 big plays of plus 20 during the course of the game. That was the Eagles who were doing that to Kansas City's once vaunted defense. Kansas City had virtually nothing like that. They had 1 play of plus 10 in the entire first half. And of course, they wound up being 34-0 at halftime. I was so impressed with everything Vic Fangio dialed up. So impressed, obviously, with what Philadelphia was able to do to the Kansas City defense to beat them. I was also impressed with Mahomes. Late in the fourth quarter, as this thing was virtually about to end, he walked down that bench. He knelt in front of every one of his linemen and talked to them. Positive leader. And his post-game press conference was positive about, we will now spend this offseason digesting this, and we'll come back and we'll be better next season. Now, other aspects to the game, Lamar's halftime concert, I expected more. I thought it would be dynamic, but I expected more. I did not expect him to go off on a tangent and insult the other great performer, Drake, the way he did. That was to settle a score. He settled a score on national TV. I bet the NFL is not real happy with that one. Commercials. God, there are a lot of commercials. God, there are a lot of bad commercials. I didn't see a heck of a lot there that grabbed me and said, oh, this is cool. This is creative juice. You know, there were a couple. The commercial, the Dunkin' Donuts thing with Belichick was kind of weird. It caught my attention. Matthew McConaughey had a really strange commercial in which he was dressed up as different people, including Davers, Mike Ditka. I thought that was okay. I thought Tom Brady was poor. I was really disappointed. And he was so apologetic about Kansas City. And he was throwing all this false hope out there. Well, now it's a 4-score game and they can come back. Well, now it's a 5-score game. Come on, Tom. Be a bit more critical here. What I now, in retrospect, because, you know, there's been a lot of conversation this past week about Greg Olson getting bumped and not getting a chance to do the Super Bowl, and everybody really likes him as a color analyst on Fox because they pushed him down the ladder and put Brady into the number 1 team. What they should have done was they should have given Greg Olson his own window to do his own analysis. Maybe they didn't want to have three in the booth. Maybe three in the booth would have meant Brady here and Olson next to him and they'd bat heads. Maybe they just had Greg Olson do a little segment at the end of each quarter with his opinion, the end at halftime, end of the third, end of the fourth. Olson could have added some more zip and pizzazz to that broadcast booth, because I thought Brady, I didn't think Brady had a Super Bowl performance. I think Brady had a Patrick Mahomes performance on TV. I was really disappointed in that. All right, so John, I threw a lot at you there. Go ahead. Tell me what you think about the Mean Green. Tell me what you thought about looking into the eyes of Andy Reid and Spagnuolo. And did you understand anything about that halftime performance? And you want to talk about Brady versus Olson? Go ahead. The floor belongs to you.
The floor belongs to me. First of all, I love hearing you doing critical analysis of the play-by-play and the color commentator, because only you could do that appropriately. I saw criticism of Tom Brady online. People saying he referred to Mahomes as Patrick, but yet he referred to Jalen Hurts as Hurts. So he had an affinity towards Mahomes through this whole thing. So I don't know. Greg Olson got screwed in this whole thing, and Tom Brady is the pretty boy. I did like the commercial though with Brady and Snoop, where they're going head to head talking about hate and how it was just, that was a good one. The halftime show was I think for most people that are not familiar with Kendrick Lamar, that it was, they didn't understand what he was saying. They didn't get it. It was a mystery to them. But when I watched a lot of the post-game analysis of the halftime show, there was a lot going on in there. There was commentary in the lyrics about politics and culture, society, about sports, about history. Serena Williams was in the halftime show doing a particular dance that is very meaningful in the Black community. So that is a halftime performance. You have to kind of go back and watch it a second or a third time to really understand the depth and all the subtle messaging. But as far as the game goes, it was a terrible game. I mean, right from the start, it was lopsided. It was never competitive. I mean, what happened to the mad scientist and all the genius of your guy, Andy Reid?
I think at the end of the day, Philadelphia just came to line of scrimmage and punched him in the mouth. And Kansas City was never able to respond. There were chunks of time in the second period where this game was really out of control, and I was of the opinion, Reid's got to change this. You need to go no huddle, go quicker passes. What you do if you put a drive together where you're running play after play after play, you're going to slow that pass rush down, and he never did it till late in the second half, and by then, that thing was significantly over. I mean, they had Mahomes out of the shotgun, standing there trying to find receivers, trying to move the pocket, wham.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so I thought that if this is the tempo that Philadelphia is going to play at, you got to answer the Mean Green by coming out, going quick drop, slants, outs, crossing patterns, quick, get the ball out of there, get a couple first downs, because then you're keeping their defense on the field. And these guys, they got them 3 and out, and sacks and penalties. And so Andy Reid, I don't know why there was not another option to change the flow of that first half, because next thing you know, it's 34-0 at halftime, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done to change that outcome.
Did you notice how the Chiefs were heavily penalized in this game? And there's always the conspiracy theory how the refs are on their side. And it makes me wonder if they were trying to make a point of it, that, hey, we're not on the Chiefs' side.
Yeah, but there were head hits and junk like that, and there was a lot of and there were face masks. But that's who Philadelphia is. Mean Green. We're going to punch you in the mouth and see how you respond. Sometimes they got caught along the way. The whole refs conspiracy. Now, but I will grant you that
it's a fun topic to discuss.
Yeah, but the last two games Kansas City played. A lot more penalties on the other guy than on Kansas City. Now, prior to that, there was an awful lot of, they're protecting Mahomes and what a bogus call that was, etc. But things, they were different. But Philadelphia deserved the flags because Philadelphia they play South Philadelphia street ball.
Just a couple other random observations. Number one is, did you notice that when Mahomes was in the pocket scrambling, he has a couple of signature curl moves. And every time he made that turn around the bend, there was an Eagle defender.
Yeah.
So they had the whole thing sniffed out. And by the way, there's one dude that was really disappointed with the outcome last night, and that's Pat Riley. Wasn't able to cash in on his three-peat trademark.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, Philadelphia earned it. Philadelphia slugged their way to the victory. Do you think Greg Olson, third in the booth in the Super Bowl broadcast, would have been a great counteractive to what Brady was, or just give him his own little segment with his own commentary? Because I think it was said, God, Greg Olson's message is a hell of a lot more vibrant than what Brady was delivering.
Well, it can't really admit defeat on the whole Brady experiment in the biggest game of the year. And if you had Olsen like in a separate booth, it's like separate but equal. I mean, that wouldn't work. So, but I kind of like the idea of a three-man booth if they can make it work. And if you have both Olsen and Brady doing commentary, it could be really dynamic.
And they sound really different.
Oh, yeah.
Different spin. So that's all things Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl loss. At the end of the day, a lot of people are bagging on the Chiefs. Let's appreciate the accomplishment. What they did to get there a third year in a row, what they did, because your team is never the same from year to year. Quarterbacks change, your roster changes, retirements, injuries, free agency. Kansas City's accomplishment, I think, is phenomenal. But now we've gone through, I think, officially a changing of the guard. People looking at Philadelphia and looking at who Detroit is, because Detroit plays the same way. Looking who San Francisco was before they had injuries. They kind of play that way. So maybe the game's going to change a little bit in terms of style based on what some of these guys in the NFC are doing.
It's a copycat league, man. So they're going to be bringing big guys on the lines going forward.
Okay, so if you're an NFL fan, feel free. Jump on board. Pile in. Pile on if you want. I don't want to say I told you so, but I did pick Philadelphia to win. I didn't think they'd put 40 on the board against Kansas City, and I couldn't believe it. At one point it was 34-0, and Andy Reid had one first down and 19 yards in total offense. But let's talk Super Bowl Sunday. Fans Forum chat box is open. Feel free to be part of the conversation right now. We got other topics on the table here. John, where do you want to go?
Let's talk about some NFL notes and news, and I see Marshall Faulk is at the top of the list.
Yeah, let's start with NCAA. Marshall Faulk, legendary Aztec running back, Rams running back, Colts running back. Used to work for NFL Network before he got let go. Marshall Faulk is back in football. He's been hired by Deion Sanders to be the running back coach. He becomes a third Hall of Famer on the Colorado football staff. This will be interesting because he's never been a coach anywhere, anytime, any place. And I'll tell you, that existence, that's very time-consuming. That's very demanding. Marshall Faulk was a great player. I don't know if Marshall Faulk was dedicated to being great after his playing days were over, because he tried his hand at different things and virtually nothing worked out. But Marshall Faulk has gone to Boulder and is going to be the running back coach, so there'll be a learning curve for him. Congratulations to Kevin O'Connell, ex-Aztec quarterback, Coach of the Year in the National Football League. He outpolled Dan Campbell. I think Kevin O'Connell wound up getting 23 first-place votes. I think Dan Campbell of Detroit got 15. Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year in the NFL. Josh Allen, NFL MVP. This one kind of really surprised me. He's a one-man gang. What a job he did in Buffalo. But he really dominated the voting against the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who did phenomenal things statistically, so I was surprised there. Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets have informed him he will not be back. He's going to be released. That's a bit of a stunner. This after meetings between Aaron Glenn, the new head coach, and Aaron Rodgers. There's just kind of an undercurrent of feeling. There's a lot of money would be tied up with him with a roster bonus if he's on the roster in March. They don't want to pay that amount of money. Secondly, there's this whole imagery that Aaron Rodgers is his own entity and the New York Jets are over there. And I think Aaron Glenn's persona is nobody's bigger than the team. And Aaron Rodgers had acted like he was bigger than the team that turned a lot of people off the last 2 years in New York. So Aaron Rodgers is going to be out of a job. We've been talking about the 49ers and they're wrecked by injuries. DEEBO Samuels has been given permission to shop himself to find a team that wants to trade for him. So we knew changes were coming in Frisco. Somebody's leaving at wide receiver, whether it was DEEBO or Brandon Ayuk. Somebody was going to vacate because of salary issues. DEEBO is the one that's going to get traded. Davante Adams. Now, he, of course, had been with the Raiders, Green Bay prior to that. Then he talked his way out, and he wound up going to the Jets. He's leaving the Jets. He's asking the Jets to trade him or release him. He wants to play on the West Coast. He's talked about the Rams. He's talked about the 49ers. He's kind of intimated the Chargers. He's going to wind up out here somewhere on the West Coast, probably before the draft. And Cooper KUPP has been told he will be traded by the Rams. It's a salary cap issue. People in LA are really unhappy about that because he had a linkage to Matthew Stafford. He was a really good player, but he's got a $29 million cap figure. Evidently, the Rams are willing to pay a piece of Cooper KUPP's salary to get salary cap relief. Now, he's not young. He's 32. He's had injuries 3 straight seasons. I'd love to see the Chargers get him at an affordable price because they need somebody like Cooper KUPP that knows the game, is very responsible, catches balls, yards after catch, and all that. So, John, there's a lot of names there. Pick some names off the board. Where do you want to go? That's what's happened off the field in the NFL and to a degree in college football.
Love seeing the Aztecs up at the top of the list, and number 1 and number 2. What do you think about Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders? I think that makes sense.
At what price? You can tie up all your money in a 42-year-old quarterback?
Well, who else you got?
Well, but there will be guys out there. You know, if you're asking me, yeah, but it has to be an affordable price. You know, I'm not going to pay Aaron Rodgers $40 million at age 42 because his numbers have drastically decreased and there's an injury factor. Now there's an attitude factor. Or are you shoving the attitude aside because it's Aaron Rodgers? He's been productive with the way he acts on the field. But who's the head coach? Pete Carroll. But who's the coordinator? Chip Kelly. What's Chip Kelly want? Quarterback who can run. Younger guy, legs, things of that nature. How does Tom Brady, who carries clout and influence, how does Tom Brady view Aaron Rodgers at age 42? It's novel to think Raiders, Aaron Rodgers. Please tell me you're not going out there getting a shiny object again. I thought we decided that it was not the way the Raiders are going to do business.
They need a veteran quarterback, at least for a portion, if not the full year, because they're going to draft a quarterback. Hopefully, maybe they can trade up. But, you know, if it's not him, and we've talked about Tannehill, we've talked about, you know, James Winston. I mean, they've been throwing a few other names around, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers makes sense to me. And by the way, I mean, Josh Allen, good on him for winning that MVP, but I think that Lamar Jackson's stats were better than Josh Allen's. Do you think they probably thought, well, Lamar, you've already won it a few times. It's Allen's turn.
Yeah, and Allen beat him.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's where we are. What about the wide receiver groupings?
Well, I mean, Deebo Samuel, I mean, we were debating that Brandon Ayuk thing during the previous offseason, so here we go again. You figure Davante is probably going to want to hook up with his boy Aaron, right? You know, wherever he goes, Davante might want to go with Aaron Rodgers. And Cooper KUPP, I'm surprised the Rams are trying to let him go. I guess it's a salary cap thing and the emergence of Puka Nacua. But Cooper KUPP would be a nice fit for the Chargers.
I think so. Affordable price, not at $20 million.
Well, subsidized by the Rams.
Yeah, exactly. So those are all things NFL. Do you want to pick a name there on the board? Join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. Let's talk about Marshall Faulk, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders, and what wide receiver would you like to see go where and why? Feel free to jump on board. Fans Forum for football fans open now so we can get you on board. We go from football because they open tomorrow. Spring training camps underway. Cactus League, Grapefruit Circuit. Topics?
Topics. Let's go here to the Padres. The notebook. You're going to break it down.
Yeah, let's talk news and notes around baseball. I talked to AJ Preller over the weekend. Unique phone call. AJ did not agree with some things I've said on this podcast, which is okay. And we just talked about where the franchise is and the fact that business is not complete. Padres open spring training camp on Tuesday, and the Padres have gone into the marketplace looking for rentals. But in terms of trades, it was impressed upon me that they don't need to make a trade, that they don't have to trade Dylan Cease, and they don't have to trade Luis Arise. But as normal course of the way AJ Preller does business is Preller talks to everybody about everything. So trade names always come up in the conversation. He says we could open the season with this group and see if we are in a chase for first place. We could play this way and put ourselves in a position to be a top team in the playoffs and then face these other teams in short series. Now, that being said, if they keep this payroll the way it is, and their payroll now is probably, I want to say, 218 to 220, they're going to be paying enormous amounts of salary to try to stay in the pennant race. And the luxury tax, as AJ confirmed to me, does not get configured till October 1st. But they're going to have to pay all those salaries on the 1st and 15th, which means their payroll is going to be high. Their payroll with the recent additions they just had is probably knocking at the door at 218 to 220. Are they want to pay 218 to 220 in payroll for the entire season to hope they can be in the National League playoffs? But if you keep it there, that means you're going to have a salary tax bill at the end of the bill, at the end of the season. So if they can start with what they have, they get to the trade deadline and it's not going, then maybe they just get these guys off the roster. But they don't have to make trades right now. That was impressed upon me by the general manager. And now we got the rent-a-vet situation. And this is kind of unique. The Padres, in a span of about 28 hours, signed 3 more veterans. Connor Joe, former Rocky and Pirate left fielder, first baseman, 240-ish hitter, little bit of power, good, solid player. Star? Hell no. Jason Hayward, at one time a really highly regarded outfielder with power. Good career, Atlanta Braves, big contributor, Chicago Cubs. He was with 2 teams last season, hit 211, has got a lot of miles on him, but a real strong clubhouse presence. And they just signed Gavin Sheets, who was a former high draft pick of the White Sox. Younger guy, affordable, got power, strikes out a lot. He can play outfield, he can play first base, but he's not proven he hit major league pitching with any success at all. They've invited it's now 28 non-roster guys, including a whole laundry list of guys who we've talked about in the past. I'm going to be intrigued to see what they get with this young pitcher, Joe Espada, who was in Japan, used to be with the St. Louis Cardinals. Is he going to be able to forge his way onto this pitching staff? He's had some success. And then obviously the catcher with the glove doesn't have a bat. Martin Maldonado is part of that non-roster invitee group. They got Elias Diaz, former All-Star Colorado Rocky, can hit a little bit. Not a great defensive guy, but he was here at the end of last season. So the Padres at this point are who they are on the roster, are telling me they don't need to make a trade, that they can start the season and be in the pennant race with what they have. But by the end of the season, I don't know that they're going to have all these guys here, because that means a luxury tax payment if the payroll stays at 218 to 220. And as AJ confirmed, luxury tax bill does not get configured till October 1st. So we'll see. So John, there's a lot of different layers here in my conversation with AJ. Give me your reaction to what you just heard.
That's awesome. AJ called you. I mean, did he offer you a job? Did he ask you any advice on what to do with the team?
AJ called me out. He did not like the commentary I made about being in denial. Well, they have their own opinion about the way they're doing the business, and that's great. But let's understand, the community has an opinion. You haven't done anything. And even signing these 3 free agents at Dollar General this past weekend doesn't change the community's look at your team. But the fact he did come out and publicly say, we don't have to make a trade. We can start the season with the guys we have, and we'll run this race and see where we are at the trade deadline, July 31st, see if we're in the playoffs in August or October. But the salary cap bill, there's going to be a luxury tax bill at the end, so he couldn't really answer that. And by the way, he did want to clarify one thing. I had made the comment that I was stunned at FanFest when he and Mike Schultz sat up there and they talked to the people in the stadium. He did not talk to the media, which is very unorthodox, because every manager and every general manager meets with the media on their FanFest day, whether that's at Dodger Stadium and that's in Pittsburgh or wherever. And his response to me was, well, they didn't schedule it. His PR people didn't schedule it. That seems like a cop-out to me. But he said he's going to meet with the media over in Peoria this week, and I'm sure he will. And he will get tough questions there because PR gets the blame for not scheduling him to meet during FanFest because he would have gotten tough questions there. But it was great. We exchanged. He answered some questions off the record, gave me some background about the luxury tax and how they configure. There's different levels of luxury tax that go into the equation. So it's interesting. But at the end of the day, what's the word? Well, I used the word they shop at Dollar General. And they got 3 more guys on the Dollar General bookshelves this week. So I don't know whether Connor Joe can be a difference maker, or Jason Hayward has any gas left in the tank, or somebody unlocks the mystery of Gavin Sheets, who was a great college power hitter, but hasn't hit in the major leagues with any consistency. And if you're taking guys that the White Sox got rid of, how good are those guys? So John, give me your opinion.
Well, remember last year we were going into spring training and we were like, who's going to play center field and left field? And then they got Profar, who was basically just dumped by the Rockies.
Sure.
And you're thinking, well, what's he going to do? And he had a great year. They put Jackson Merrill in center field and he was incredible. Connor Joe, the pride of Poway National Little League. So that's great to see him playing for his hometown team. Maybe he could be like another Profar kind of a guy, And then Jason Hayward to me is like the equivalent of a David Peralta, probably plays better defense in the outfield, but he's a lefty off the bench. And so that's cool.
He's a clubhouse presence guy. He had a lot of influence in that Dodger clubhouse. Didn't hit a great deal when the Dodgers picked him up, but he was a rock solid guy.
And then Gavin Sheets, I don't know much about, but this is kind of a tangent. You remember Andy Sheets?
Sure.
Remember Kevin Towers traded Andy Sheets to the Angels for Phil Nevin. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those dumpster dives that worked out real well for the Padres.
Yeah. So that's where we are as a roster. That's the latest as the Padres go to spring training. I mean, they've added, I'm trying to think, they have 28 non-roster invitees. So they've just signed, in essence, 5 journeyman major leaguer fringe guys, led by Jason Hayward all the way down the list to Martin Maldonado. They still have holes, but they got so many pitchers here that they're going to give an opportunity to. So I don't think in the big picture, the roster we have right now is the roster we're going to have maybe by opening day or the roster during the season. That's where we are.
AJ's still cooking, man. He's in the kitchen making something for us.
I concur. So you got a response. You're a baseball fan. Feel free to jump into the Fans Forum chat box. Give us your opinion just about this Padres situation. By the way, we cover everything because we do sports talk the way it should be do, and that's why we're covering these guys too.
Yeah, the Dodgers and Angels. What's new with these guys?
Yeah, let's talk about the Dodgers situation. A lot of different storylines here with Los Angeles. Dave Roberts does not have a signed contract yet for an extension. Dave Roberts said just before spring training started at Camelback Ranch on the weekend, he wants full value in his next contract, which leads me to believe no more discounts, which leads me to believe because he's got World Series rings and first place finishes, Dave Roberts, I am told, wants $8 million a season, which would put him in the upper echelon of all of Major League Baseball. So that bears watching as to see how this relationship works. In terms of the Angels, one other note on the Dodgers. They've just re-signed Kiki Hernandez. They just brought him back today. I don't know where he fits on a roster. It's got a lot of utility guys and a lot of diverse guys who play different positions. But Kiki Hernandez has just signed a contract, which leads me to believe virtually all those minor leaguers who got cups of coffee last year, probably all going to be in Oklahoma City because they have options left. But Kiki Hernandez comes back to the Dodgers. Angels have a new third baseman. I didn't see this one coming. They just signed Yon Moncada, third baseman. He's going to replace Anthony Rendon at third base. This guy was highly regarded highly regarded Red Sox, traded to the White Sox, and then got hurt and got hurt and got hurt. He's a .256 career hitter, but his last 2 seasons have really been substandard. The Angels have him. Angels are opening their spring training camp. They've got a lot of openings, a lot of utility guys. I call them team utility man they've got right now. They do have a healthy Trout. They do have a healthy Rendon, and they've rented an awful lot of guys coming in the front door. We'll talk more about each of these teams more specifically on Thursday's podcast, but they get Yoan Moncada. Maybe somebody unlocks the mystery. Maybe Ron Washington takes him around the curve and makes him the star that a lot of people projected when he first came up in the Red Sox and got traded to the White Sox and had some good years. They thought this is going to be a really good player, but when he got hurt and just hasn't done very well. So that's where we are with the Red Sox, the Angels, the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, yeah. Kike Hernandez is there for the postseason, right? He kind of hangs low in the regular season. You're talking about some of the guys going back to Oklahoma. I'd imagine Andy Pages might be one of those guys, right? What's the deal with Hyesung Kim? I mean, where are they playing? Is he an infielder?
Second baseman.
Second base. Okay.
He probably is the heir apparent to what Garen Lux used to be.
Okay, so if you have him at second, and then is Mookie going to play short?
Yes.
Okay, so then
and Muncie's going to play third.
Muncie's going to play third. Okay, and then so what's the outfield going to look like? Because you're not having Mookie in right field anymore.
No.
You know, but they've got what's his name that was on the Mets and he went to Oregon State and he played for the Giants. What was his name?
Well, they got Conforto.
That's what I'm talking about.
Michael Conforto.
Yeah, so he'll be probably, I would imagine, a left fielder.
Yeah, so we'll see as this thing evolves, but they have a lot of experience. They have a lot of diversity. Guys who can play all these different positions, you know, not just Kike Hernandez, but got Max Muncy's a multi-position guy. Chris Taylor is still there.
Chris
so
Taylor,
yeah, so that they've got a lot of diverse people that they can use. And Conforto was the latest one that's come on board, one of the 6 free agents that they signed in the offseason. So that's where we are, and we're not done. One more baseball topic or two here before we get to halftime.
Shohei Ohtani in the news again.
On the field, Ohtani has started throwing bullpens and doing long toss at Camelback Ranch. And I saw a video of him from behind the mound. Boy, his stuff looks electric, and he's letting it unleash. And again, Ohtani is coming off that second elbow surgery. So he's already started that procedure. That'll be followed by bullpens. I don't think he's going to pitch in any exhibition games in the Cactus League, but he seems to be a little bit ahead of the curve. The target date for him is going to be June 1st. Ohtani off the field. We've talked about his personal aide, IP Mizuhara. Mizuhara threw his mercy on the court sales pitch to the judge in the aftermath of the conviction and the guilty plea of all the theft of all the money from Shohei Ohtani. The judge said, I'm not showing you any mercy because you showed no compassion at all for what you did to Ohtani. I didn't realize this. Mizuhara stole more than 50% of Ohtani's earnings while he was with the Angels. Remember, Ohtani was on a fixed contract because he came at a lower price as an international free agent. He stole more than 50% of all the money that Ohtani made for this gambling addiction. And the prosecution had given the judge all these factual pieces of information. He stole $17 million. He owes the IRS $1 million. He impersonated Ohtani 24 times to banks to make transfers from Ohtani's bank accounts into hidden accounts that Mizuhara had created. He changed all the coding of Ohtani's banks so interest payments didn't go to Ohtani's account. They went into Mizuhara's account. This guy placed 19,000 bets in a 2-year span.
Oh, my God.
Just amazing. This guy was $40 million in debt. This guy had his own private accounts with his own money, and he was still stealing money from Ohtani's accounts to put them into the hidden accounts so he could make more bets. I mean, this is one seedy character. Anyhow, the judge rejected the mercy letter that Mizuhara sent, sentenced him to 57 months in prison, 3 years house arrest, will deport him to Japan when this thing is over. And the guy never said he was sorry about what he did to Ohtani, said Ohtani underpaid him. He had a gambling addiction. He tried to hide behind the curtain of gambling addiction as to why this happened and continued to happen. And the judge was of the opinion, you just continued to do it and do it and do it because you thought you could get away from it. Judge didn't say you're sorry. Judge should have said you're sorry that you got caught. Just really an ugly story. So that's the latest on Ohtani in the bullpen on the field and Ohtani's personal aide, Mizuhara, and what he did. And John Riley says,
got another number one starting pitcher with the Dodgers. Here we go again. I'm not sure if I really buy off on this whole Ippei Mizuhara story because, like, I understand he's stealing the money and everything. I mean, that's obviously he needs to be held criminally liable to all that. But how in the hell does Shohei Ohtani not know that? Or even members of his family, did he get married or he's married now.
No.
How did the wife not know or when she was the fiance, or did he put all of his trust into Mizuhara just so he didn't have to think about anything other than baseball? But
an ancillary question is, how does his agent not know this is going on?
So that's the point, is that I'm not sure if I buy that Shohei Ohtani is completely innocent in all of this, because he must have had some sense of what was going on.
Well, either that or they don't review bank statements, or he's making so much money because he has all of his endorsements in Japan and what he was getting here in the United States, he just didn't pay attention. And his needs and whims were taken care of by Mizuhara, his personal aide. Book me this plane flight, book this, do this, set me up with this car rental, I have to go here, etc. And Mizuhara was his everyday valet, if you will, while he was stealing all the money, and Ohtani never paid attention.
But you got to have a financial meeting, periodically, and just say, okay, where are my assets? What am I invested in? How much cash on hand? And the fact that he wasn't doing that, not holding his accountant accountable. I mean, there's still blame on Ohtani, even for negligence on this whole thing. But it just smells bad, it makes you wonder if there is a cover up.
Well, baseball said no. Prosecuting attorney said no. The judge said no, that Ohtani was a victim, and that's all he was, to the tune of $40 million. That's how much money was lost, to the tune of $17 million. That's how money was stolen. It's a stunning.
Now, did you say Mizuhara made 19,000 bets
in 2 years?
In 2 years. So that's like roughly 10,000 bets a year. So that's like, I'm just trying to do the math. Is that like 200 bets a day? Am I getting that? Or 200 bets a week?
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, how do you keep track of that many bets?
He doesn't. He's just on a phone doing this, doing this. He had an open account with a bookie in Orange County.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely amazing. So that's all things baseball. Feel free. You're a Dodger fan. You buy the conspiracy that John is sales pitching, that how could Ohtani not know any of this? Or do you just buy the theory that this was one slick guy who's got an addiction and an intelligence level to be able to configure how to steal all this money without getting caught, till he got caught right at the bitter end? Okay, that's baseball. Next topic on the table, we're talking hoops.
Talking hoops. We're going to do Lakers and Clippers, or did you usually we go to halftime about now? But let's go.
No, let's do that. Let's go to halftime.
Okay.
We're at halftime, Monday bonus podcast. Before we're done, you're going to get the chance to join us in Fans Forum. John, again, for all the new people that are with us on live stream, just explain how Fans Forum works.
Fans Forum is your chance to get involved. I already see here and David, Matthew, I see Larry and John and Chris and Callan. So pile in. If you've got a question or comment about Ohtani, about the Super Bowl, about what's going on with the Angels or Dodgers or Padres, drop your take in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. Get involved.
And if you like sports, please check my website. I write a ton on it. It's right there. It's first thing every morning. It's all written, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Want you to join my insiders group. There's an orange box right on the homepage. Fill it out. You'll get on our special email list. Want you to be part of my Twitter all-star team on X. Just type in @Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button so you'll be able to join me there. Want you to share. Tell everybody what we do. New starting times, 1:30 Monday, 1:30 on Thursdays each week. And want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. When you do that, you'll get the alerts every time I put something up on the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us with the algorithms. So all that. And this podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. These guys are helping us with our brand new studio, the drapes, courtesy of the smart people at DIXIELINE Lumber. And John, the bottom line is you got projects in the man cave, in our studio, in the family room, in the kitchen, in the dining room, in the bookcases, the
The
bathrooms.
bookcases.
Hey, you got projects, these guys will help you at Dixieline Lumber. Explain how it works.
Yeah. So, I mean, doors and windows is like the sweet spot for Dixieline, especially around this time of the year when people are running their heater a lot and there's a lot of energy that's sort of escaping. They have maybe drafts coming in. Windows need to be replaced about once every 10 to 20 years or so. So you go talk to the folks at Dixieline, they'll set you up. They'll come out and do a consultation, do the full measurements. Then they got a crew that comes out and will do the install, and they're real meticulous about making sure they keep everything clean, just right, almost kind of like the white glove guys in the world of HVAC. They do it well. And so doors, windows, kitchen, bath, decking, lumber, building materials, Dixieline's got it all.
Go to Dixieline.com. You can see all the things they offer. These people are bleeping brilliant. Dixieline Lumber. Okay, John, we go to the second half. We're going to shoot some hoops here. Go ahead.
Okay, Lakers and the Clippers, there's some up and down with the roster.
Boy, oh boy, how did this happen? The Lakers made all these trades we talked about last week. Here came Luka Doncic from Dallas, and that was a spectacular acquisition. Then the surprise acquisition of Mark Williams, the center from the Charlotte Hornets, and the significant trade. And then the resolution that Doncic is not ready to play yet, will be ready to play probably early this week. And then the shocker of the information, Mark Williams fails his physical. Now, he has a history of back problems in Charlotte. I think the stat was he played 86 games for the Charlotte Hornets and had missed 162. How does Rob Pelinka make a trade, get rid of two of his players and a number one draft pick without giving this guy a physical? And Mark Williams comes here to Los Angeles and he fails the physical. Now, they've indicated because he'd never had back surgery that they felt they could handle. They said they vetted everything about Mark Williams' health. Yet he gets here and doctors failed him because of two other things they found aside from the back problem. The latest thing they uncovered was a foot issue. How does Rob Pelinka make this deal without having all the data from the Charlotte Hornets doctors or from the league doctors? Just absolutely stunning. So here we are getting to the All-Star break, and the Lakers have LeBron, and they have Luka, and they have Austin Reeves, who scored 45 the other night. They have nobody in the paint. They have no bigs whatsoever. And now you got to deal with the fact Dalton Connect is coming back. Cam Reddish is coming back because a trade was voided. And you got to walk into the locker room and answer questions to them about why the hell you trade me to begin with. It's a very uncomfortable position. And the bigger problem is where the hell the Lakers going to go get anybody, because the trade deadline's come and gone. And they don't have a lot of salary space to bring on anybody who might be bought out from somewhere else. So Pelinka's mode of operation, to me, just continues to be, I think, a stigma to the success of the Lakers. As it relates to the Clippers, they're wheeling and dealing. Explain this one to me. The Clippers signed Ben Simmons, former number one draft pick. Guy had been in Philadelphia, got booted out of there, wound up going to the Brooklyn Nets. This he's got a history of back problems. He's missed a ton of games. Afraid to shoot the basketball. I've never seen somebody that big at 6'10" be so scared to shoot threes or shoot from the outside. When he plays, he can be productive, but he's not trustworthy in terms of an integral part of your offense. And like I say, he's always hurt. I'm not sure understanding why the Clippers would bring this guy on for the final part of his season. Guy's been making a lot of money and it's just never, ever panned out because he's been dinged a lot. So Laker line or the Clipper comment line is open. John Riley, respond.
The Lakers are red hot, though, right now, aren't they? I mean, they've won, I think in your best 15, they've won 11 of 13.
Well, thank God when you're playing Utah and the Chicago Bulls and some of the really wretched teams, but there's still half a season to be played. And, you're not telling me Jackson Hayes is going to be the savior in the paint? Jackson Hayes averaging 6 points, 4 rebounds a game, lifetime backup, and he's going to be your go-to guy in the paint?
I keep thinking about, remember back like in the early 80s when Magic Johnson played the center position when Kareem was hurt?
Sure.
What about LeBron doing that?
In some matchups, but I don't think you can do that on a consistent basis.
Well, why not? I mean, Austin Reeves has been really red hot lately, so why not give him and Luka the space around, to be the wingman on the perimeter and be dynamic and put LeBron and his 42-year-old or however old he is down there in the post. I mean, it could be like a new LeBron, the LeBron that's going to a renaissance to change the way his career is going to finish.
You're not trying to set up a scenario in which you're going to eventually defend Rob Pelinka for doing business this way. How does that happen?
Maybe you were saying that, yeah, Mark Williams, he can't even pick up his own luggage.
They got hurt.
Yeah, I that trade on the surface sounded interesting. I was, especially since Luka recommended him. So it's just a shame that the whole thing went to hell in a handbasket. But the Lakers, on one level, yeah, they don't have a big man down low, but it's not hurting their record. I mean, what are they in the Western Conference? So maybe like the number 4 seed.
No, they're 31-19 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not bad.
But you can't play Utah and Chicago every night.
No.
No, the Washington Wizards. They're starting to start playing real people with Jackson Hayes as your starting center.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about that, but and to your point, Dalton Connect and Cam Reddish are like, WTF, man. What do you expect? I mean, that's just got to be a weird vibe.
All right. Somebody please join us. Lakers line, Clippers comment line open. Jump in board, fans forum, chat box. We're talking hoops. We're talking college basketball next, John.
Yeah, the Aztecs and the Tritons going in opposite directions.
Nice headline there. We expected too much at San Diego State. I expected too much. Maybe you expected too much. This just does not appear to be the same type of team that beat the University of Houston and was top ranked early in the season. They're just going in the wrong direction. I mean, the Aztecs played so poorly at Colorado State. And that's not a dominant CSU Rams basketball team. And the Aztecs are really hurting. They might not make the tournament. They are now at 16-6. Three tough losses in the conference. I should say 4 tough losses. 4 losses in the conference. 3 other games they should have lost in the conference. They did not. We're not seeing the consistency of the vintage defense. Their 3-point shooting has just totally fallen off the face of the earth, and that's what carried them very early. Erratic outside shooting from a lot of people, including Miles Bird. Guath has really become an established star in this conference, but there's no supportive help around him. In this game at Colorado State, they had 1 basket in 24 possessions in the second half, over an 11-minute and 14-second span. Think about that. 1 basket in 24 possessions. Their guards went a combined 9 for 34. They gave up 44 rebounds. They're getting blasted on the boards. And it is hard. I really swear to you, it's hard to put a rectangular brick through a cylinder when you're shooting free throws. They missed 10 free throws, including 6 in a row. Just a bad situation. San Diego State is not who we thought they might be. I guess the bigger surprise, Brian Dutcher's teams historically have always grown and gotten better and better as the season's gone on as we got towards tournament time. These guys haven't grown. I think they're less of a team now than they were early in the season when they beat Boise and when they shocked the University of Houston. So, real tough set of circumstances. In terms of the other team in town, the Union Tribune wrote today, the best basketball team in San Diego is at UCSD, the Tritons. They are 20-4, and they went to Irvine and they lit up the Anteaters. UCSD hit 16 threes.
Yeah.
McGee and his guys and Tait-Jones, that's one of the better players on the West Coast that nobody pays any attention to, and he's been rock solid consistent. So we got 2 teams doing really well, and I feel really bad for Steve Lavin because that's a university infrastructure support situation. They're 4-22 at USD. I hope he doesn't lose his job. Maybe some people will question whether or not he's lost touch with modern-day basketball because he was out of it for so long while he was doing TV, the ex-UCLA St. John's coach. But they just don't have enough players, and I wonder whether or not they had enough NIL money to keep players. So he's having a really tough season at 4-22. So, John, do an autopsy on the Aztecs. Going to hand out diplomas for the Tritons. And what do you think about USD?
Okay, on USD, first of all, Lavin's not the problem. Okay, I mean, like you say, it's infrastructure. He's only been there a year.
2 years.
2 years, okay. But still, hopefully, I mean, Lavin has wanted to come back to the West Coast Conference. I know that, he had flirted with the idea of maybe being a coach at USF, so I just think he's at home. Hopefully he's committed long-term and the Toreros will commit long-term to him. It's going to take a while to rebuild that. I am ecstatic about the UC San Diego Tritons. And this is their first year in Division I eligibility for the postseason. And there they are, tied for first place with UC Irvine. It's a huge story in basketball, not just here in San Diego. And like you've talked about Tait-Jones and McGuy, but how about like Hayden Gray? I mean, one of the best defensive players of the year. He was put up on that list of the top 10 for the Naismith Award. Greg Olin does a great job as a coach. UCSD, like when I went there in the 80s, they were a Division III school. They played like Pomona Pitzer, they played these tiny schools. And now they're going up against the best in the Big West, which granted isn't, the SEC or the Big Ten, but they're at the top of the list. So you've still a one bid conference, or a one bid conference. So they've got to win the tournament, but they've proven that they can beat Irvine and they've proven that they can beat Riverside.
I never thought they were going to beat Irvine up there because Irvine was really good. And San Diego or UCSD just went in there and just bombs away. You hit 16 threes in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, but they've always been a good three-point team for the last couple of years. So I'm ecstatic. So hopefully they can hold serve for the rest of the regular season and go into the Big West Conference as the 1 seed. Maybe it's the 2. I don't know how they're going to sort it out.
All right, Aztecs, not whom we thought they would be.
Brutal. Watching that game, first of all, they're young. We have to keep that in mind that they're young and they make mistakes and they're a little too much hero ball at times. Miles Bird looked gassed in the second half, and a lot of the other players did well as well. I mean, Magoon Wath has been just this blossoming superstar, but the rest of the squad, they kind of disappear a little bit. It just seems like they've been scouted, that the defense, the other teams are playing on the Aztecs can kind of outthink them. And we've had a consistent problem with the rebounding. And, Jared Coleman Jones is back, which is great, but he's not really a tough guy down low. And sometimes he can disappear. Sometimes Pharaoh Compton can kind of be in the wrong position for rebounds. So they got work to do there. But the free throw shooting, I mean, Miles Heide, come on, man. Just take some practice shots. Get at least to 50%.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that just blows my mind is this late into the schedule, the erratic outside shooting of Bird and Boyd. I mean, their first halves have just been horrid in a whole bunch of recent games that they wound up losing.
But Boyd looked a little bit better in the game against Colorado State. But and Bird has his moments. But the challenge is that they get out Aztec'd, because it seems like all the other Mountain West coaches have followed a similar philosophy, and sometimes they just get out tough down low.
They're getting a taste of their own medicine now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's all things college basketball. You want to shoot a three-point shot? No air balls. Only good comments. Fans forum chat box is open to talk hoops. Last topic on the table, we're going to talk about golf.
Yeah, PGA news and notes.
Yeah, the Genesis Invitational, which is normally held at Riviera, comes back to Torrey Pines this week. It won't have Tiger Woods. He's just withdrawn. His mother passed away 11 days ago. Tiger has not been able to practice very consistently. And in the early morning hours today, he elected to pull out. This was supposed to be his comeback appearance and tournament this week at Torrey Pines. He's not going to play. Phil Mickelson is off the LIV tour. He's got a shoulder injury and it's not healed correctly. He missed the opening tournament in Riyadh. He's evidently not ready to start on LIV. The president thinks he can solve everybody's problems. The president says he wants to enter the negotiations to talk about the merger between the PGA Tour and LIV in Saudi Arabia. And Phoenix Open Golf, this has become quite a conversation point. There's a certain level of golfer's etiquette. Mm-hmm. You go to Torrey Pines, there's something special. Golfer's etiquette at the Masters Augusta. Phoenix, screw the golfer's etiquette. Where's my beer? Yeah. The stuff that goes on in Scottsdale at the Phoenix Open is absolutely crazy. And it was like an armed military camp for the 4 days over in Scottsdale this past week because they wanted to stop all this junk with guys running across the greens and guys running across the fairways as players were shooting the ball because guys were running to buy their next beer. I've seen video of these fans staggering, falling face first on the 18th hole. Just absolutely amazing. I don't know what the PGA Tour is going to be, but Phoenix is violating everything about golf etiquette we've ever seen dating back to the 1930s. Guys hooting and hollering when guys are trying to line up putts, and just amazing.
It's great. It's neat to have one tournament where all those sort of etiquette rules no longer apply. And there was one of the golfers hit a hole in one in that stadium hole. Is it the 16th, I think? And then the fans are throwing beer and beer bottles and everyone going crazy. And I'm like, and the golfers like it. You know, they love it just for a break from all the other pomp and circumstance.
No, you're a fan of Animal House, aren't you?
Yeah. All right. So the other comment here, Donald Trump going to solve the problems of the world. Here he comes. He's probably going to put tariffs on LIV since it's foreign golf.
Oh, just amazing. I'll ask you a kind of philosophical question. For all the amazing things that Tiger Woods has done, I close my eyes and I remember Tiger at the tail end here at Torrey Pines, just dragging his leg up and down the fairways just because of all the issues. And he's had 6 back surgeries to go, I think, with the 5 ankle and foot surgeries. I'm not sure I just want to see him on the course just to be on the course if he can't compete and he can't practice. And if he can't practice, I don't think you can play and win. And he hasn't done any of that at all. And I don't want to see this turn into a pity party. So why he continues to think he can come back on the course when he's hardly practicing at all, it stuns me. I mean, his career is legendary. There will never, ever be anybody that dominant. But why do it this way? Why finish this way?
But isn't he sort of like the host of the Genesis? Yes. And I think that's Hyundai's high-end car line. So I think he has sort of an obligation to be one of the golfers rather than just being a VIP.
Well, he's a VIP spokesman. He doesn't have an obligation to be a golfer and miss the cut and play poorly. And you see him dragging his leg up the fairway. That's terrible.
Didn't his mom just pass away?
Exactly. That's why he pulled out this morning.
Yeah. So
she passed away about 11 days ago.
And I remember seeing his parents when he was winning those tournaments during his big run, and it was so supportive and so good. But it's a circle of life, Lee.
Exactly. And I just guess he cannot adopt the transition that this career as a superstar probably should be history. Go on to the rest of your life. I think he'd be unbelievable on network TV as an analyst.
He'd be great.
But why does he want to play and miss the cut or quit tournaments in the second round because he doesn't feel right? I don't want to see it end this way.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many athletes we can make that comment about how they just sort of ended and it's sort of just a fizzle.
Okay, you got comments? We're going to open this up. Fans Forum chat box is now open. Feel free to jump on board, give us an opinion, whether it's on Super Bowl, all things Major League Baseball, whether it's on hoops, whether it's on Tiger Woods, feel free to join us. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they got materials. You want ideas, they can help you. Just go to DIXIELINE.com and look at all the things they offer you. DIXIELINE. John, let's do it. Where do you want to start?
Okay, let's start with Matthew because he likes to give us money and he goes to the top of the list. And he says, Lee, have you ever seen an ownership front office disrespect a player like the Mavs are repeatedly doing to Luka? Now the Mavs president is slandering.
There's a lot of heat. There is a lot of anger in Dallas, and there's anger from within some of their own players organizationally for this whole Luka Doncic thing. And, I should have added, Anthony Davis got hurt over the weekend. He has now a severe abductor injury, which is in the groin area. He's out indefinitely. They're talking maybe 2 to 4 weeks. And he's a tough guy. He plays through injuries, but he has a history of injuries. And now he's hurt again in his first game in Dallas. They are enraged. Maverick fans are with this whole Luka Doncic thing. And the fact that the president of the team and the general manager of the team said we need to change the culture. We have to get better defense to be a championship team is just kind of thrown gasoline on the fire. These fans are not happy at all. And now AD's hurt.
I saw that injury, and he was doing great in the early part of that game.
26 points, 12 rebounds before he went down.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, it's just like he pulled a muscle somewhere in his groin region somewhere. I don't know. That's got to be rough, but if you're a Mavs fan. But I was reading that Mark Cuban didn't know about the Luka trade until it was kind of a done deal.
Well, Mark Cuban is no longer the majority owner decision maker.
Oh.
It used to be all things Mark Cuban, but he sold, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago, he sold a significant segment of ownership to other people because Mark's an entrepreneur. He's off doing many other things.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for the input, Matthew, and hope you'll stay with us on a week-by-week basis. Next question.
We're going to go to Matt again because he's using the super chat, giving us some cash. Thanks, Matt. Hey, the Clips are last in the NBA attendance. Ballmer's shit out of luck.
Well, team's not dominant right now. Team is going to be in the playoffs, but they don't have enough players, I don't think. It is kind of surprising. They've opened the fancy new Intuit Dome. Everybody likes it. But the electricity with the team has gone away just because I've had so many injuries, and it's just not the same franchise. Kawhi Leonard's return has been kind of up and down, some good outings. And then as the minutes have piled up, he's now gone over 30 minutes twice in the last 2 weeks. His productivity, his shooting has gone way down from what it was. It's just not a complete basketball team right now.
Yeah, you build a brand new arena and you're last in attendance. That's rough, man.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. We'll go to Hector. He says, Lee, you can only do a physical on a player after the trade has been completed. Before then, all you could see is medical records provided. See canceled Cashner, Ray, Padres, Marlins trade in 2016.
Well, the NBA allows you to have conversation with the other team's doctors. So that conversation supposedly Rob Pelinka took place. They said they vetted it. And they came away with, he's ready to be traded because he never had back surgery. But he gets there and they find 2 more problems in addition to the back issue. And one of them, I was told, is a significant foot injury that maybe they saw a potential stress fracture, or maybe something's going to break. So now you got to send him back, and now you got to repair the damage with Dalton Connect, the #1 pick that you did when you traded him away. And now you're looking at your roster and you got Jackson Hayes, career lifer backup. He's going to ride him through the playoffs. They said they vetted him. You mean there was no documentation from the Mavericks when you looked at the medicals from him about the foot problem? I don't understand it. What's Pelinka doing?
There's got to be some gamesmanship here, because they have injuries that are reported. There's probably some injuries that are not reported that maybe the Mavs knew about Mark Williams that they didn't need to fully disclose. And they're probably hoping they could just sort of pass him off to the Lakers. So this thing came back and bit him in the butt. But, it's interesting. Hector references the Padres trade. I remember that Colin Ray deal. The Padres would have ended up with Luis Castillo on that deal, and they had to refund that deal. So, and then, and by the way, Preller has always had a history, right? With the medical records, people have criticized him for that.
That's why I got suspended.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next one. Thanks.
Okay, next one. Let's go here to Gary, and he goes, Conforto and Pages are going to platoon. Interesting.
Could be. But they can have a numbers problem because of the fact that, you can only have 26. Now, they do have diversity. So that's going to be fascinating to see. The one that is on the outside looking in is James Outman. And a year and a half ago, that was a hot prospect in the outfield. Now, he's still got options, so he's probably going back to Oklahoma City, but did not turn out to be what they thought he would be, because when he first got here, he was a flash, and it turned out to be flash in the pan.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting how they configure. But to your point, yeah, they got guys like Chris Taylor. They're like Swiss Army knives. They can play just about anywhere. But every way they turn, they're fully loaded. One of my buddies, who Dennis at Postal Annex here in Poway, is a big Dodger fan. He said you could take the Dodgers 40-man roster, split it in half, and both teams would be favorites to win the World Series.
No, that's a bit of a reach. Dennis is an excitable Dodger fan.
Yeah,
I understand that, but they've got 23 veteran pitchers who've had success in some form or fashion at the major league level. Now, some of those guys are recovering from surgeries, and a bunch of those guys are going to wind up. Today is the first day you can put guys on the 60-day DL, which opens up roster spots. So the Dodgers are going to put some of these surgical pitchers in recovery on the disabled list. But the Dodgers have got so many arms. Luckily, some of these pitchers still have options left because they're going to be sending a bunch of guys back to Oklahoma City to at least start the season. So really good team. Holy cow, what a really good team.
What do you expect from Kershaw? I mean, I know he's not going to come back till halfway through the year, but do you think he's going to be a starter, or are they going to use him in a different way?
Just depends the health of all these other guys. You know, what is Dustin May going to be like after 2 elbow surgeries and the next surgery he had? Is Tony Gonsolin going to be completely healthy? Because he had multiple different physical surgical procedures. So if guys aren't what they expected them to be, then Kershaw probably when he signs, and I was told he's going to be ready June 1st. He's coming off the foot and the shoulder, or foot and the back. Shoulder, I think. He's coming off 2 minor surgical procedures. But the target date is June 1 with him. So good insurance policy. And that's why they haven't signed him, because that way he won't count against luxury tax and things of that nature. He'll be a half a season contract that'll kick in on June 1st. But they say he will be back.
Dodgers. Okay, let's go here to Raul Zendejas. He goes, gentlemen, how will San Diego FC do this year?
Well, I'm going to be intrigued to see if they have enough goal scoring to go with Chucky Lozano, the veteran from Mexico. They've built this thing from the back end out. They've built it from the goalkeeper through the fullbacks towards the midfielders and the center backs. I think their defense is going to be pretty good, but you need snipers, and I don't see a lot of snipers there outside of Lozano, at least at this point in time. So. And there's so many foreign names that they're coming from so many different places. We just don't know who they are and how good they're going to adopt, because everybody who comes from, they got guys from the Netherlands and guys from Pakistan and Greece. They all come from different systems. I think it's an enormous challenge in such a short window to mold a compliant roster that'll play together in a system this coach wants to present. So it'll be fun going forward, and we'll see. And that thing, their first home opener is, I think, March 1st.
Yeah, here we go. And like, how are they going to do? I have no idea. I have no idea how they're going to be, but I'm excited to have the team here, to have MLS in San Diego. I think it's great. And by the way, Raul Zendejas, that name sounds familiar.
There's a bunch of Zendejases, the kicking Zendejases.
Well, they were in the NFL,
in
right?
The National Football League.
But I thought there was a Raul Zendejas that was with the San Diego Sockers back in the day. No? Or maybe it was a different first
Might
name.
be a different one. But no, the Zendejas name is kind of affiliated with all things NFL.
Yeah, they were the 3 brothers, if I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, let's go here to Joe. And he says, do you think San Diego will ever get an NFL football team?
No place to play. It's a shame that a market this big, with the track record of loyalty and success, does not have a team and does not have a place to play. They had a place to play, and Spanos could have had the stadium built if he would have made his own contribution to go with what the city, the county, and the NFL had already put into place. And he refused to go to the negotiating table because he wanted to go to Los Angeles to be on the periphery of support with the National Football League. Until we have a way to get a stadium built, and then somebody's going to be able to buy an expansion franchise or relocate. I just don't see San Diego being on anybody's radar now at all. I've never heard that at all. The NFL is talking about, well, if we had to move Jacksonville or Buffalo didn't get the stadium financed, a new stadium to be built out there, would the Bills be in jeopardy? The league is talking about international expansion. The league is talking Mexico City. The league is talking London. Nobody's talking about San Diego, sadly. Just a shame.
It is. But, there's been a lot of NFL teams or cities that have lost the team and then gotten one back, like Cleveland, like Baltimore, like Oakland.
St. Louis did too.
And LA as well. So, there's a possibility of it, wishful thinking. But imagine if, the whole international aspect, that they put a team and they were like the Tijuana team, like that they could have like a cross-border U.S.-Mexico kind of thing going on.
I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, the league is really looking serious at Mexico City, but the league is also looking at the whole international scope of things, which is why there's talk of a London franchise as a starting point, and maybe, I don't know, this is way down the road, a 6-team European division. But that the complexities of doing schedules with international teams or with a division, that's really, really hard.
Yeah, extremely hard. Yeah,
so that's where we are.
Okay, let's keep on moving, and we're going to go here to Richard. And he says, Fans Forum, as a Dodger fan, it's amazing to me how many members of the media and non-Dodger fans are very disappointed that Ohtani was found a victim and not a violator.
I find it hard to believe that you, being as wealthy as you are, you would not pay attention to your own personal bank accounts, or your agent would not pay attention. I'll guarantee it probably never, ever happens again to this dimension. But again, he's so young, so focused on baseball, and that's the only focus of his life up until they got engaged, married, and is about to have a child. And he trusted this guy. He knew this guy from Japan. So he trusted him and never paid attention. And it's staggering to lose $17 million and not be aware of it. And it's staggering his agent, because agents have their hands on everything as it relates to their star players to help them, and not be aware that this type of transaction was going on. Just amazing.
You know, Richard brings up an interesting point, because there's like a dynamic. It's hatred of the good for being good, right? And so whether it's the Chiefs and you're tired of them, you're tired of Tom Brady and the Patriots, you're tired of the Dodgers, they get to the top and everybody wants just to knock them down again. And I think that's part of it, because Shohei Ohtani he's perfect. You know, he's a two-way player. He's historic. He hits bombs. He's a nice guy, and he's an international superstar. He's doing what no one's ever done since Babe Ruth. And you're like, the Dodgers have got it too good. We got to knock these guys down.
Well, maybe society's become conditioned that there's always negatives around everybody. Ohtani seems to be the exception to the rule. So, everybody from Major League Baseball through the prosecuting attorney to the bank people, to the judge, have indicated he was not implicated at all. He was victimized by all this. But then it begs back to the question, well, maybe John wouldn't pay attention. John's rich. Yeah. How could you not know there's $17 million missing from your accounts unless you just delegate everything to your advisors to make sure everything is okay? Well, he never paid attention, and nobody knew.
The reason rich people are rich is they pay attention to their assets, and they make wise decisions with it. So that, to me, if you take everything at what we're being told, Ohtani is a damn fool for doing what he did. But, there is maybe a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory here as well.
Hi, Richard. Thank you.
Okay, let's go here to Bill. And he goes, hey, Lee, Dodgers named Tanner Scott as the closer. I'm surprised a bit, but I think it will still be by committee. Thoughts?
Well, initially they said a couple of weeks ago, closer by committee. But Dave Roberts said over the weekend, Tanner Scott will be the first guy I give the ball to start the season. But Andrew Friedman had made the comment, we're going to do it by metrics. We're going to do it by matchups. So I went through this morning on their list. They have 6 guys who've been closers, either in LA or with other teams. So there could be Evan Phillips. It could be Trinan. It could be Tanner Scott. It could be a whole bunch of those 6 guys. But they say Tanner Scott will be the first guy out of the bullpen, at least opening day, when they play the Cubs in Japan. But I also think the way they use metrics, and there's so many smart people at Dodger Stadium, I could see them going righty, lefty, based on batting orders on different days.
Dodgers this, Dodgers that. So I think clearly Dave Roberts and the front office, they figured out a way to do the matchup thing that worked brilliantly against our Padres. So that was awful for a Padre fan. But you can't really do that all season long. I mean, because no one really knows their role, and they're kind of guessing and second guessing.
And injuries change the makeup of those 6 former closers.
Well, yeah, that'll. But I think it's good to name. You got one guy coming out of the gate, and you're going to give him the ball in 9th inning, and I think that makes sense. And Tanner Scott certainly deserves it.
Okay. It's going to be fun. I mean, they are so talent laden. It's just going to be fun to follow and see how this fits if it comes together. Next question.
Okay, let's go here to David. And he goes, and by the way, David, thank you for the $5 super chat donation. Will they ever put a roof over Snapdragon? People are going to heat stroke in the summer.
It's going to be a problem. It really is. It's going to be a problem in the summer for outdoor soccer, unless everything is at night. But as they were putting together the concept of what Snapdragon would look like, David, they looked at soccer stadiums, and they looked at the soccer stadiums with the overhang, but the cost factor is just through the roof. And, this thing was paid for by bonds, the San Diego State and the Cal system. They couldn't do it. So The other factor is I think they made a terrible mistake with the layout and the direction the stadium was laid out, because the sun bakes on half that stadium all day long, and that whole one far sideline just bakes all day. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to a football game or a soccer game in the afternoon in the summer if that stadium is baked all day. If they had positioned the stadium this way, only one end zone would have been baking all day. So there was a mistake. I've never gotten an explanation as to why this thing was laid out the way it was, because I remember walking the dirt piles with Larry Lucchino with the Padres when they were with the concept of Petco Park. And I asked him the question about atmospherics and about the breeze down on Mission Bay. And have you studied this? He says, yes, we studied all the wind currents and we studied sun location, etc. And it's just a very little part of Petco Park does get a chunk of the sun just by the way that thing has been laid out. And of course, now the atmospherics have changed because of all the construction and the hotels and everything around Petco Park. So they did a really, really good job.
It just makes me think of Horace Stoneham neglecting to do the study at Candlestick Park back in the day. Even Qualcomm, it's a 90-degree rotate from what Snapdragon is. But even at Qualcomm, one side of the stadium had a lot of shade, another side had a lot of sun, just because the sun was like at an angle.
Yes.
So I heard a story that, and this hasn't been confirmed yet, but maybe it's still in the works, that if San Diego got an MLS team, they were going to put like those shades like on the very top, kind of like in the movie Gladiator, around the stadium. And I thought that makes sense. And, if you've got an MLS team coming in, maybe they'd be willing to make the investment.
Big investment, though. I mean, we're talking lots of money.
Well, a lot cheaper than putting a roof on the thing.
Well, you can't. But the university structure, the Cal system said no. I'm trying to remember because I had posed that question about the overhang. It's not a permanent overhang. It's fabric.
Yeah, it is.
Sunscreen?
It is like that, yeah.
Like a sunscreen. But somebody told me $675,000 just for the overhang sunscreen. So, man, not going to do that.
Well, you never know. I mean, if this thing really blows up and the fans are showing up, you never know. I mean, we're just getting started with this whole Snapdragon thing.
That or just play night games.
Now, that makes sense. I mean, but TV always kind of ruins that plan.
On we go.
All right, let's go down here to Dave Johnson. He goes, where is Garrett Wilson going to end up? Could he be a fit in San Diego or for the Chargers?
He's gifted. He's talking about the New York Jets wide receiver via the Ohio State. If Davante Adams leaves, either gets released or gets traded, he doesn't have any guaranteed money. That's the big issue for Davante. He wants to go somewhere else where he gets a restructured contract and he gets guarantees. If he gets traded, then Garrett Wilson becomes the guy and they keep him. I don't think they're going to move Garrett Wilson because he's young and he's vibrant and he's athletic and he makes big plays and he's got a little tough guy streak in him. And so I don't think Garrett Wilson gets moved. But obviously, based on what just transpired over the weekend with the Jets informing Aaron Rodgers, he will not return. So he's gone. And then Davante Adams says, I might like to move to the West Coast too. He might be traded too. So there's going to be some changes there with the Jets.
Well, Garrett Wilson. So what do you think about Myles Garrett and Russell Wilson? Where are those two guys going to end up?
And Zach Wilson, the former BYU quarterback.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys named Wilson. I don't know. The storyline out of Pittsburgh with the NFL is that they're leaning towards Justin Fields, young and athletic, and groom him. Let Russell Wilson go on the open market. Russell Wilson's name has been mentioned. Raiders, along with a whole bunch of other guys, and now maybe even Aaron Rodgers. Thank you to my co-host. So there'll be some movement amongst veteran quarterbacks. Jameis Winston is there. You got Ryan Tannehill's indicated he's ready to come back after sitting out last season. There's a lot of guys that are out there. That's where we are, quarterbacks. And again, we're a day removed from the Super Bowl, and our attention will now focus on NFL free agency and the NFL draft.
And Major League Baseball spring
training.
That
too, of course.
We got the NBA playoffs. You got March Madness coming, man. Sports never sleeps.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Okay, let's do a couple more here before we get to social media.
Okay, let's go here to Larry. He goes, what's up, Hacksaw? You think Mahomes and the Chiefs threw that game yesterday?
No. They got thrown to the ground yesterday. That's what they did. At the end of the day, Larry, plain and simple, Philadelphia, too big on the offensive front, way too many people on the defensive front. Kansas City's shortcomings surfaced. So, I mean, it shows you how good they are. Mahomes was under siege all season, yet he got him out of hot water because he was so brilliant. They couldn't get him out of hot water in this game just because that whole defensive front was phenomenal. And those left tackle, right tackles could not hold up. And now I said it today, there's a flaw in the roster in Kansas City, which sounds stupid considering how good they've been, that when Andy Reid needed blockers to help those beleaguered tackles, he didn't have a tight end on the roster that was really a blocker. All his tight ends are the Travis Kelce catching down the field tight ends. So you're going to see them go get an offensive tackle or two, and I think you'll go see them add a stud, tough guy tight end who can block as kind of part of the equation. So they got exposed a little bit because Philadelphia's so great.
Oh yeah, it was just a beatdown, man. And I remember just watching that game. Travis Kelce was totally a non-factor. And then so many times that when the ball was coming to him, it was at his ankles because Mahomes was under duress.
Yeah, and he was doubled. They had the linebackers dropping in front of him. They had guys over the top. He never got open until it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mahomes did go to some hurry-up offense in the second half, but by then the doors were getting blown off. If they had done that in the second quarter when things started to get away, then maybe they would have kept that defense on the field and slowed down that pass rush. But you got to have the mindset, okay, we're not going to stand back there and try to go deep. We're going boom, 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 slants and outs and screens and hurry up offense to get back to the line of scrimmage and do it again, and they didn't. And they couldn't run the ball worth a bleep at all. They never tried to run the ball because of those studs, Jalen Carter and his buddies up front. I mean, that was a clinic. What that mean green defense did, that was a clinic.
Yeah. How about, is it Dijon or Dejean? It's his birthday. He had that touchdown.
He's a fine player. And they found him in what, the second round, third round?
Yeah.
And we did last Thursday's show when we broke down the rosters. I talked about the unsung heroes, the general managers. I mean, it's staggering. I mean, Philadelphia, I think it was 15 of the top 22 starters are their own players, their own draft picks. What a job Howie Roseman did. And Brett Veach has done a great job in Kansas City over the years in terms of loading it with draft picks and then going out and actually renting a veteran free agent that is a difference maker. So
I think we're going to be talking Eagles three-peat in a couple of years.
Well, injuries change everything, but right now, that's the conversation point that era in Kansas City is over. And let's just salute the Chiefs. That's a hell of an accomplishment. It might be a new era that's just broken in Philadelphia.
Philly fans they're busting up the city right now. They're excited.
Okay, let's do one more here before we go to social media.
Okay, let's go here to John. He goes, this was perhaps the least competitive Super Bowl since perhaps when the Bears shuffled over the Patriots back in the day. It was over before I even got my first slice of brisket, nor am I part of the targeted demographic for the halftime entertainment. It's hard to believe that the Super Bowl is becoming like the Pro Bowl. This ain't going to win fans.
Well, this was an odd blowout. Now, there have been blowouts. Somebody told me this morning, because I'd written my column and I made reference to the bad experience the Chargers had against the 49ers and the really bad experience the Chicago Bears laid a beating on Tony Eason. I think it was Tony Eason and the New England Patriots. Okay, 45-10.
Was that David Grogan?
No. Steve, you're talking about Steve Grogan.
Steve Grogan.
That's way back. No, this was 86, 87 maybe. Mm-hmm. It was a really bad beatdown. But Denver, didn't somebody beat Denver recently?
Well, the Niners killed Denver 1 year.
40-11 or something. Yeah. So, I mean, these games have occurred, but man, I just sat there and I said to myself, would have never, ever thought I'd have a game in which I'd see an Andy Reid team be down 34-0 in the first half, would have one first down in the first half. And at one point they were outgained. I've got all kinds of stats here. At one point, I think they were outgained 177-19 in total offense in the first half.
Yeah, I saw a stat like that on the TV screen. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I just think the Super Bowl is such a big deal, and these players are so psyched up and they're excited. And then the minute the game takes a turn one way or the other, one team goes into the gutter emotionally and the other one goes sky high, and then it just turns into a blowout.
Yeah. Well, the fact you got 2 weeks preparation, you can display some things that have never been seen before. And that's what Andy Reid built his rep on, is formations and motion, which would make a difference in how you defend Mahomes. He had no chance to do that because his people just could not cope with everything Philadelphia had at the line of scrimmage. And in terms of John's reference to halftime, this has become a bonanza event to appeal to everybody, not just football fan and fanatic over here. Everybody, which means all types of age demographics, which is why you had Kendrick doing what he did yesterday, and why you've had some of these other halftime shows. You know, I thought back that Rolling Stones played at halftime a group of years ago. It was really kind of cool. But that's my demographic. It's just a different time. So they will do a lot of diverse things as it wraps around the Super Bowl game itself, because you're trying to appeal to so many different people.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's kind of like for old guys, you know, we're always a little ruffled by the new music, you know.
Well, you're pissed off that I don't have any Bob Dylan music. I understand that. So, by the way, you need to go see the Bob Dylan movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's
That's
really
good.
good. All the music is just phenomenal.
Oh, right on. Yeah, yeah. That's a movie I kind of had on my checklist. But I'll tell you what, there's been some great halftime shows. The Prince halftime show was fantastic. U2 right after the 9/11 was a good one. But, you know, this Kendrick Lamar one, you know, we talked about it earlier in the show. To the non-Kendrick Lamar fan, you couldn't tell what he was singing about because the vocals were not really crisp and clear, you know, but I've listened to and read people that have done reviews of this, and they're all saying it was brilliant. The way that he is a poet and he's a master storyteller, and all these messages in there that speak to, you know, Black history, American history, culture, society, even politics,
social causes,
you know. And then you've got, you know, Samuel L. Jackson, Uncle Sam out there, you know, doing his thing. So there was a lot more to this that you can't just take it at surface value. And a lot of Americans are like, oh, I couldn't understand what the hell he was saying. And, you know, and they just sort of dismiss it. But I think you've got to give it a second look. And then, hey, Serena Williams was in it too.
Yeah. I'm amazed at their ability to choreograph something that complicated with that many people. It's just absolutely amazing.
Do you remember the halftime show when Madonna and then she came in? It was like the Spartans, like, you know, invading Troy, you know, with the people bringing in this like Trojan horse with Madonna on top. And you talk about people.
You're asking me because at halftime I go eat shrimp, enjoy a shrimp cocktail. I don't care about
Remember
that.
at the beginning, they used to always have like, you know, the USC marching band.
Sure. Back in the day. Now that's a black and white TV.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go from that. Let's go. John, thanks for being with us. Let's go to social media real quick.
Okay. Social media. Let's go down the list here. And okay, we'll talk here about the more Dodgers from Adam. He goes, he's quoting you. They're going to be booed every stadium they go into this year. You know, what the F? Stop being overly dramatic. They're the Dodgers, not the 2017 Houston Asterisks. Were the 1995-2001 Yankees booed at every road game they played?
I think the only difference, though, Adam, we now exist in a world of social media. And everybody's got opinions on social media. And those opinions, the minute you hit the send button, they're everywhere. And there's a lot more people with opinions on social media now as it relates to Dodgers buying their way, deferred payments, luxury taxes. It's just a different time right now in terms of how these teams are going to be viewed. And I'll guarantee you, they're public enemy number one. They didn't do anything wrong. They're the Dodgers. They have the resources, etc. But I'll tell you, it's going to be a very different season.
Yeah, you know, the fans are going to be fired up when the Dodgers roll into Philadelphia or go into, you know, it's a Citi Field in New York. Everyone's going to want to see this bonanza of a roster, you know. And yeah, there's going to be a little bit of grudge mode, a little jealousy, a little bit of envy. I don't know if they're going to be booing him with the vitriol and the hatred that came out with the Houston Astros and that cheating scandal, though.
You're wrong. I just think they're going to be public enemy number one. Everybody's going to be enthralled. They want to see Ohtani. That's must-see TV, and they want to see this roster of megastars. And oh, by the way, they're the enemy.
Yeah, well, you know, there's certain villains in baseball. Like they always boo Manny Machado, right? There's always those guys. But
are you telling me Padre fan is not going to boo the Dodgers?
Oh, well, of course they will. I mean, and so will Giant fans. But there are no villains on the Dodger roster. They're all like good guys. Yep. You know, they're the kind of guys you want to bring home to mom, you know. And
Adam, it's going to be fun to watch opening day. It's going to be great. I don't think it's good for baseball, but I think it's great. Go ahead. Next one.
Okay, next one. Okay, this is from Fat Boy, and he goes, "Oh, please, if you want to be correct in what you're saying, it would be the young dog versus the old dog and the refs and the league. Everybody knows the league has it scripted for the Chiefs to win. It's not even a conspiracy anymore. It's obvious to everybody except Chief fans. The NFL is a joke."
I guess he doesn't enjoy pro football.
I think he wrote this before the game.
Well, at the end of the day, I totally disagree. It's a much more complex game right now. It's bigger, faster, much more complicated to officiate. I think we get to the spring meetings in I think it's West Palm Beach. They're going to change. They're going to add some things to instant replay. They're going to add replay assistance, I think is the correct clause that they're going to invoke, in which replay in the booth will be able to look at something and message down to the referee, throw a delayed flag because there was contact to the face mask, or there was a helmet hit. You're going to see that to help the game grow. The most important thing is get the calls correct. You've got the technology now. Take it to the next step. I don't want to see instant replay stoppages on every second play, but I think they're going to do some of this.
Do you think like Nick Sirianni plan for this game is like, hey man, I got the dudes, man. I got the big guys on both lines. I've got a great secondary. I've got an all-star, running back, a great quarterback. He's probably thinking, just do what you do. You didn't have to like outthink it and come up with some gimmick like Andy Reid would.
The correct phrase is mean green. That fits everything.
There you go.
As it relates to Eagles football. Thank you, Fat Boy. Go ahead. Next one.
Okay, let's talk a little Dodgers and Lakers. And this is from the real, what does that say? The real Angel Rivera. The Lakers and Dodgers are two of the best run franchises. You think so?
Well, not so much Lakers lately. I mean, real. You're sitting there telling me it's okay that we're cheering for a team that has to be in the play-in for the postseason. That's what Laker basketball has become. This is not the era of Kobe and Shaq. This is not the era of Magic and Showtime. This is not the era of Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. This is more the era of Jerry Buss's daughters running the franchise and hadn't been very good for a long period of time. So it's a little bit different time, but the Lakers historically got all those banners, and the Dodgers historically, look at who they are going back to the days of Ebbets Field and where they are now in the 2020s. So I guess to a degree, Lakers, Dodgers own Los Angeles, but the Lakers are not what they used to be.
No, and I mean, I think a lot of people think that, when Dr. Buss, when he passed and it went to Jeannie, it just hasn't been the same team, the same philosophy, right?
Well, it was for a while because Phil was there. Phil Jackson carried a lot of clout, but then age caught up and he left, and I don't think it's been the same since. And Pelinka, just because he was Kobe Bryant's agent does not guarantee he's going to be a great general manager.
Was his agent? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
His marketing guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Pelinka on the Fab Five team? Is that right? I'm trying to go back because there was some connection I think he had to Michigan. I don't know.
You got me.
Oh, but as far as the Dodgers are going, we're not that far removed from Fire Dave Roberts, right? And people were calling for that.
Yeah, and we're not that far removed from the bad times with Frank and Janie McCourt.
Yeah, that too.
But look at where we are. Look at what they've become since
just the Midas touch.
Yeah.
Whatever they do is just, it's perfect.
Gold standard.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
All right, let's go here. Talk a little NHL here with Matt. He goes, I understand the players union usually. This, however, is a really bad look. Friggin' guy is known dirtbag with receipts. No place in the game for this BS anymore.
Oh, he's talking about the mess in Minnesota and the terrible hit on the Ottawa player that could have broken his neck and the 10-game suspension that was handed out. And he's got a track record. We're talking about Ryan. He's got a track record of violent acts, and that's why the league suspended him for 10 games. And next time should be 20 games. But to me, the bigger picture is Gary Bettman and his vice presidents have to take control of this league and stop this. To me, I've seen more bad fights this year than I've seen collectively in the last 5. And we've had more incidents with head injuries and concussions and guys getting knocked into the boards face first, guys cross-checked, and then what this guy did with a cross-check to the back of the neck to the Ottawa center, Tim Stutzel, was egregious. I've never seen. They could have broken the guy's neck. So the league may be excited about nobody gets hurt in fights. Well, that's not necessarily true because concussions come from fights, and multiple concussions lead to CTE. And there have been NHL players who committed suicide. So, Gary Bettman saying, well, I can't find any link. Well, you're not trying real hard because I think it's out there. But Bettman needs to get this game under control because it's a great game. And John Riley has every right in the world to earn a paycheck playing in the NHL. I have every right to check him at center ice, but not doing it with a cross check to the face or a knee-on-knee check that could destroy his ligaments. We just got to do a better job policing, and that falls to the front door of Gary Bettman.
Well, that was a brutal takedown. I mean, I saw the replay. It was like in a face-off.
Yeah, and Stutzel fell.
Yeah.
And a Minnesota player cross-checked him on the back of the neck and full body.
Yeah, but he came down like with his elbow, like on the back of his head.
And
on the
full
neck.
weight.
Yeah, and just smashed his face into the ice. I mean, that was brutal.
Yeah, I concur with you. So, Bettman, my memo, clean this game up. Everybody's got a right to earn a paycheck in the NHL. Let's do one more here.
Okay. Let's go here. A little more Dodgers, Padres smack talk. This is from Valente Medrano. He goes, Kershaw curse. When you have grown, wealthy men sticking their tongue out, picking a fight with the fans, and pay a player that has a short fuse, a boatload of money, fans will not feel sorry for y'all. Call it karma. Call it you reap what you sow. It comes back threefold. A house divided will no longer stand.
Jeez, you said a mouthful there. So obviously he's talking about the mem on the scoreboard towards Kershaw. Is he interjecting a little jerks and Profar jumping up and down in left field, taunting the fans, or Tatis grabbing his crotch as he looked in the fans in right field? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, and a little Machado in there too.
Yeah, exactly. So, last week, Eric Grupner, the Padres president, made the comment, well, about the rivalry. He said, well, we want to do things classy at Petco Park. Yeah, right? Classy? Kershaw mem, and I like Profar.
No, it's a meme. It's a meme.
Okay. And Profar jumping up and down.
That was great theater. I mean, that whole thing.
Was that classy?
No, but that doesn't matter. It's still fun, And Dodgers fans right now, they love not being classy. Dodger fans love smacking the Padre fans and the Giants fans down. Little brothers, you guys ain't no good. You're not as good as our perfect Dodgers are. So they ain't classy. But I thought the meme was fantastic. I mean, obviously it backfired on the Padres. Jurickson Profar was just jumping and having some fun time because he robbed the home run ball from the fan. That wasn't that bad.
It was a great play.
Yeah. And then Tatis was sticking his tongue out, but it's the playoffs and there was so much emotion going on at that time that it just felt like it was just a lot of energy, and I kind of like seeing that. And Machado, by the way, is constantly scapegoated as a villain. He's a much different guy today than he was 10, 15 years ago.
Okay. I can't wait for the Dodger Padre first game of the regular season series. They're going to meet each other 13 times. You have 13 games. We're going to be able to explore this.
It's going to be awesome.
Good deal. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed our podcast. Just a reminder, we had to change our starting times a little bit because of scheduling issues. 1:30 every Monday, 1:30 every Thursday. Want you to share, want you to subscribe. Tell everybody what we're doing with this award-winning podcast. Subscribe so you'll get the alerts every time we put something up on the YouTube channel. Want you to read my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. It's written. It's there first thing every morning. And join the Insiders group because then you automatically qualify. We email you everything that's on my website as part of the Insiders group. We thank you for being with us. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you. John, take a deep breath. We'll be back here Thursday because we're going to go full bore into the opening of the Cactus League and the Grapefruit Circuit, but there will be a lot of things to talk about because we do sports the way it should be done. Topics on the table. Have yourself a great day.
Yeah, pitchers and catchers reporting. It's a magical phrase.
And have yourself a great day. Thanks for being part of what we're doing. Glad to have you part of our team on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to leehacksawhamilton.com.